I don't care.
No, doesn't bother you at all?
In the beginning it bothered me a little bit because I was carrying a tattoo on me. But when I became religious, I went to a rabbi, a big rabbi, and I told him, I have tattoos, what should I do? So he told me, just leave it, don't worry about it. Some rabbis allow you to take him off. Some rabbis will say, no, you the same way you're not allowed to put it on, you're not allowed to cut it off. So that specific rabbi that I went to told me, don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. Now, for me, myself, I can't say I like them, but I see much more positive than negative. So I go sometimes, I travel, I go to like a mikveh, I look like this, suddenly I take my clothes off. Everybody's like, they just see this, they know exactly where I came from. And some places I go, I speak to a lot of youth, and people are, religious people, boys that went, or girls that went away from religion. Just the fact that I just need to pick up my shirt and they see a big tattoo, it's like, psychologically they're like, oh, okay, so he's a cool guy. He's a cool rabbi. He has tattoos. He's a person I can speak to him eye to eye. So many places that I went, the tattoos did good rather than bad. A lot of people told me, oh yeah, you look at it, reminds you where you came from. I don't really need to be reminded where I came from, but personally me, it does at some point bother me. I would rather not have it. But I'm definitely not going to go and remove them now. It's expensive, painful, and all the rest of the things that come with it. Besides that, the Rav that I went to told me, don't touch it. So he told me not to touch it, I do not touch it.
How would you explain to your kids?
I don't hide anything from my kids. I don't hide anything from my kids. They know everything. When they were young, I told them that I was playing with markers, and my mother told me not to play with it and not to color myself, and I didn't listen to her, and now I'm stuck with it and I can't take it off. And when they go like this, I'm like pretending like it hurts me. So there's a good lesson to learn in everything. But my kids already, at least the older ones, they know my story. So, I go to their school, oh, yeah, we heard you died, all the kids. So, in anything negative, you can turn it into something positive and teach something good. Right. So my kids are fine. My kids are not the problem. But personally, me, I don't know if it sounds the wrong way. I'm above it. I don't care. I actually kind of in a weird way like it. That's what I'm saying, in a weird way. No, but that's specific me because when I go to a lot of places, people kind of like it's like a proof that you can go very far away, and as far away as you are, you can still go back. And I have so many stories with the tattoos. Like one time, I was in the mikveh, and this guy walks up in front of me, and he wasn't religious, and he's looking at me like shocked. And he's looking at my tattoo, looking at me, looking at my tattoo, looking at me. Then he goes away, and after 5 minutes he comes back and he tells me, Alon? And I tell him, yeah. He's like, remember me? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, so he tells me, oh, I remember you from then. And he looks at the tattoo, he's like, you know what? I didn't even remember your face. I would never recognize your face. I remember the tattoo. And he tells me, I can't believe it. You did tshuva? You are like the most wildest person, like you're the last one on the list that I would think that did tshuva. Later on, I spoke with the guy who invited him for Shabbat, that the guy who invited him for Shabbat told me, oh, I worked with him in the same place for a year, I'm convincing him to come to Shabbat. He finally agreed. It took me hours to convince him to come to the mikveh. And he literally, I think, came for Shabbat to shut me up so I can finally leave him alone. And he told me that when he saw you, you changed. He couldn't believe the whole Shabbat. He's like, I can't believe this guy did tshuva. I cannot believe. He told me just by seeing you that you did tshuva, it totally affected him. So sometimes the tattoos do a lot of good things. So if you're asking it because you have a tattoo, then ignore it. When you do tshuva, it's also ignoring things.
Very hard to ignore.
Huh?
Very hard to ignore.
So if it's not too big and you can go to a rabbi and get permission, then remove it. So, look, I once went to a mikveh not too long ago, and there was a guy there covered with tattoos, And worst of all, here he had a huge cross. And on the cross, the one who comes on the cross, here, huge. And I was like, okay, I feel like a good boy. Like this guy's walking with a cross on his body, like this big. So I never followed up to see what he did, but I know another guy who was also covered with tattoos, and one tattoo was half his back, like with a naked woman, a very not sneeze picture. And that part he removed. All the rest he left. I think he had some letters on him, Hebrew letters, some of them he removed. But the best is to, even though it's hard, just ignore it. Just,
How do you deal with the judgment? Has anybody said, oh, look what you did to yourself, and look like...
That I don't care.
Okay.
If somebody would look at me and judge me, that's his problem, not my problem. That I don't care if somebody looks at me and says, oh, look, you're probably like this and like that. Because I know inside of me what I'm doing. I know inside of me the truth. I know what I'm going through. I know what I know. And if somebody looks at me and tells me, oh, you are such a wicked person and you have tattoos, fine, that's what you want to think. That's his problem. That's somebody else's problem. I don't let anybody, I don't care if people judge me, good or bad. That's their problem. If somebody judges me wrong, they have to deal with their issue. The thing is that sometimes, one of the reasons why I see good in the tattoo, because every time that you will go through some type of an embarrassment, or you would feel judged the wrong way, or whatever, it's another type of removing the sin off your soul. Every time that you feel, the Torah even tells us, when somebody comes and insults you or embarrasses you in front of a lot of people, be so thankful, because he just took 5 tons of sins and removed it. The more you get embarrassed and humiliated in this world, it's good. Here it's bad. For the soul, it's like this huge cleansing process. So every time that you feel embarrassed from something, just know that Hashem just peeled off another strong layer. You know how the women, they used to wax their legs once and and go like this and pull out a bunch of hairs? So every time you get embarrassed, Hashem is pulling off a layer of dirt from your soul. So that's why I said, I see good things. You can see, you can convert and transform anything that looks bad into something good. So just know that it's not as bad. You want to care what the boss thinks, not what somebody else thinks. So the main part is to make sure you're making yourself happy and you're making Hashem happy. If somebody else, husband, boyfriend, whatever, friend, is not happy with your physical situation, that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be your point. Okay, whatever. I'm not right now. Okay, I did something. I understand it's the wrong thing. I want to do tshuva. Fine. The main part of the tshuva is not in the physical level. It's more in the spiritual level. Now, don't worry, Mashiach is going to come very soon, and the tattoo is just going to get off. Dissolve. That's what the Rav told me. Don't worry, Techef Mashiach is coming. The tattoos will just melt off your body.
I think that's the way we do it.
What, dissolve? Yeah, either way. Dissolving, I think it becomes part of you. I think it just will fly off your body. It's good. Sometimes when you experience something like that, it actually kind of puts you bemet on the same place. And on the other hand, one of another reasons why I like the tattoos, because a lot of times I find myself in a level that I say, I could be so much more religious, and I could be so much more there, and I kind of I'm hard on myself. I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I could have done this, and I checked my text when I was davening, or I would look for something that I'm like, it's so bad what I did. But on the other hand, I can turn around and be like, wait a minute, 13 years ago? Where was I 13 years ago? Now I'm like, if I would look back, I see how high I climbed. When you climb a mountain, you don't look back because you're afraid to fall. But when you reach the top, like, wow, I climbed all this? So sometimes in life, when you look at something from the past, it's also is there to make you realize, wait a minute, I did such a huge change. Look where I was 2 years ago. Now I'm doing the A, B, C, D. 2 years ago, where I was 2 years ago. Sometimes I look back, I look at either my tattoos or I look at pictures. I have tons of pictures from my past, and I look at this man, and I'm like, this man in the picture on Friday night was in parties, and what was I used to do? Where am I now on Friday night? Wow, I'm sitting in a table, I have 20 guests in my table, kids around me. You know, you get a reality check. You're like, look, this is where I were, this is where I am. Because the natural part of a person is to look at yourself and be hard on yourself. Especially people that have a lot of ambitions. They're like, I could have done much better. You come home from a situation like, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I act that? So people tend to be very hard on themselves, but you need some type of a reminder of saying, no, you're very good actually. Look where you were and look where you are. So I wouldn't give it much of an importance. And if it's here, don't look down. If it's here, don't look there. Look forward. Bechlal, it's good in our life to constantly look forward. And mainly care what Hashem thinks, not what somebody else thinks. You don't have to make anybody happy. You should, especially your parents, but your main thing is if he's happy, the Mishnah tells us when the, I don't know how to translate it even, when the higher, the supreme court, let's call it, when they're happy with you, then people here are happy with you. And on the other way around, it works the same. If somebody here is not so happy with you, not because you have a tattoo, because you did something, so up there they're not 100% happy. So you have to make sure that you're making the higher level authorities happy. Then by default, everybody here will be fine. But don't worry, Mashiach is coming very soon. That you'll wake up in the morning, you'll look wherever it is, and you'll be like, oh, it went. Don't worry, it's not so bad. I wish my tattoos were the bad things I did. Huh?
You mean the worst?
Yeah. I wish that would be what I need to do tshuva, but this is nothing compared to what I had to do tshuva. I look nice. Not so nice. But, Hashem does everything, everything that I even believe, that right before what happened to me, the tattoo that I had, I made myself. Going back to the tattoos. And I was planning on getting the exact same one here, just a different design, the same shape, and another one on the back, and I was about to do this huge tattoo all over my back, neck, hands. It was supposed to be this huge tattoo. I was saving money. I was drawing the design for months. And I was excited, and I was, it's going to be the best tattoo in the world. And then happened what happened, and I pulled out a couple months later one of my sketches, and I was like, whew, can you imagine if I would do that? So sometimes Hashem turns things around that even when He gives you to do a sin, there's a reason for that. A lot of people say, He put Adam and Eve in Gan Eden. Why did He have to put the Nachash, the snake there, to convince them to sin? There's a reason for that. Because Hashem wants you to get elevated to a level of a Baal Tshuva. It says in the Gemara, במקום שצדיקים, פעלי תשובה עומדים, צדיקים גמורים אינם יכולים לעמוד. Where a Baal Tshuva stands, a complete tzaddik cannot stand. So the level of a Baal Tshuva is the highest level one can get. So if Hashem pushes you to a point that you had to do a sin, instead of being sad, you have to be grateful because now I have the opportunity to do tshuva. And if you do tshuva the right way, you elevate to the highest level you can reach, to a point that you look back and you're like, Baruch Hashem, I'm happy I grew up not religious. Because if I would grow up religious, I would probably go off the derech. If I was rebellious secular, I would be super rebellious religious. So I'm happy I grew up 28 years not religious. Now I tasted the real taste. Now I can really do my tshuva. So don't look back at your past as a negative thing. Rather look back at the past as a jumping board to a higher level. And whatever came with it, you'll transform. So sins gets transformed to merits, and things on your body, will get transformed too. The other day I looked, somebody videoed me in a class, and he sent me the video, and it was so close on me, and I was like, ooh, you see my holes? I had earrings. You see the holes? I have earrings in my ear. And I was like, oh, I didn't notice. You actually see it. I forgot that I had piercings and earrings. And I was like, probably people look at me and they see the actual holes. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of embarrassing. And then I was like, no, it's actually kind of not embarrassing, because it validates This is where I was, and if I was able to go from here to here, you know, I can tap my back and say, Kol hakavod, I did something. So you can say the same thing. I was here, now I'm here. Kol hakavod. It's not easy climbing from one spot to the other spot. So don't worry, just continue doing what you need to do to climb to a higher level, and everything will fall into place the right way. Don't worry, just do the will of Hashem.